Well, I'm excited about being here, and I do want to let you know that at Crossroads Fellowship, we really are trying to impact the kingdom by not just being busy, but actually accomplishing things that help the local church. And not all churches are as fortunate as you are. We have churches that are squabbling over doctrine. We have churches that are squabbling because there hasn't been good leadership and a vacuum, and guys not really knowing what they're supposed to be doing or why, and some that are just not able to keep pastors. And it's a privilege to come alongside them in their times of need and help. And we find our help when things are good. We establish relationships and we get together. And what we have done is we've tightened up, like Brian said, we've tightened up what we're trying to do and put some good verbiage to it that I want to share with you tonight. And then when I've got an ask at the end. So you got your little cards there. We've established a pathway for engagement for a church to say, how am I supposed to be involved in the fellowship? We're giving you 3 concrete steps that you can take. And the first one is the connect stage. The connect stage is probably the most important stage because it has to do with the health of our pastors. Many of our pastors are lonely, and it is a hard ministry, even in the good times. And we want to have a fellowship where no pastor has to do ministry alone, where every pastor has the ability to connect with others for encouragement, prayer, and strengthening. Proverbs chapter 18, verse 1 says that when we isolate ourselves, that we can quickly become 2 things: selfish in our motivations, and we make bad decisions. We don't want any of our pastors to feel alone. And even in some of our bigger churches that have healthy staff dynamics, there's still a loneliness. I was just talking to a guy a couple weeks ago, felt very disconnected and lonely, even being on church staff. And so this is happening regardless of church sizes, regardless of locations. We want pastors to be connected because a healthy pastor helps ensure a healthy church. It's really hard to have a healthy church if your pastor is struggling, and so many times they struggle alone. Our pastors' wives struggle as well, and so we're starting a new ministry of Connect called Sweet and Savvy, where our pastors' wives can get together and encourage each other and talk about ministry and spur each other to love and good works. That's why the connect step is so vital, that we want healthy pastors. But to be honest, they just don't happen on their own. It takes effort, it takes coordination, it takes somebody driving the process. Right now we only have 5 connect groups for our whole state. We want to increase that to 8 by the end of the year. We're hoping that this might be a location for one of those either monthly or bi-monthly meetings. And by the end of 2027, we like to see that number climb to 12, so that no pastor has to travel more than 45 minutes so that he can be connected with brothers in arms for the ministry. Our next step there is the strengthen stage. Imagine a church so healthy. This is kind of the dream part. Imagine a church so healthy that they have too many leaders, that they can then share leaders with other congregations. They can share leaders by sending out pastors. They can share leaders by sending missionaries out. They can share even by thinking about church planting. And this is all part of the strengthening stage to help the leadership within the church become everything that Jesus has intended. We did a Malfer survey of all, and your guys has participated in that. We appreciate you for doing that. We found that many of our churches thrive in the shepherding aspects of ministry, but they struggle in the leadership development areas. And so what part of our strengthening goals is to help churches strengthen leadership of both the pastor and the lay leaders so that strong leadership dynamics are within the church. Now, as I think through all of our pastors and your pastors here, I am sure that all of them could pull off a good leadership training event. And you guys are faithful at that here, I know. But to be honest with you, those things seldom happen. And it's because of the tyranny of the ministry, the tyranny of the urgent, because there's still sermons to prepare, and it's hard to put on one more thing. There's still emergencies like hospital visits and counseling issues and burials that have to happen. All these things are necessary for the ministry, but they distract many times of this important piece of leadership development. And so what we want to do as a fellowship is take part of that training and planning off the pastor's plate so that we can be trainers for the local church. And if nothing else, to give the pastors material that they can use in their own leadership, but they don't have to develop the material, they don't have to vet it. And so we think that's going to be a very helpful thing as we connect churches and then strengthen churches. The last one on our list there is multiplying. That multiplying churches is the goal. Just like healthy churches look outside their four walls and how can we impact and reach the community, so does a fellowship need to look outside of ourselves and say, how can we plant churches and be involved in that important part of the ministry? Back in the day, back in the 30s and 40s, and it's hard to go back, we're in a different day, obviously, but we were planting 10 to 15 churches as a fellowship back then. In the last 30 years, I think we may have planted one, and that's a guess. We're not doing that kind of ministry anymore. And we think that is one of our sweet spots. There's a lot of organizations right now that are working at church planting for metropolitan areas like Indianapolis and the donut counties around it. There are a few that are reaching out to our counties that are desperate need for a gospel witness. Many of those churches used to be strong and have an evangelistic impact on their communities, but those for many of those churches, that's been ineffective now. So either coming and rebuilding a church and helping them be effective, or planting a new church, we think is a very vital part of the process. Then also we have thousands of foreigners moving to Indiana every year. And regardless of what your political stance is on all that, that is people that can be reached. And we can either reach them for the cause of Christ and stay here, or we can reach them for the cause of Christ and send missionaries back to their countries if that's what happens. But we only have a little window of time, and there's very few people talking about how do we reach other language groups that are moving into our community. And so we have a new Hoosiers project where your church could host a congregation within here, but not be a separate church, but actually be integrated in your church using your children's ministries, your youth groups, your elder structure that you already have, so that we could do a better job of reaching foreign language people, and we're really passionate about that. Not every church can be a multiplying church in the sense of starting a new congregation or having a church plant or even using their pastor to help us as a team. Part of the multiplying is using your three pastors to help us in some of these training areas. That's a multiplying issue. But every church can be involved in giving. And we think that's needed. For years, the fellowship has been underfunded. And we've underdelivered partially because of underfunding. And so we're asking all of our churches consider being a multiplying church by being a giving church. And the giving is a big ask. It is, would you consider adding 1.5% of your budget going to the Crossroads Fellowship so that we can connect pastors, strengthen churches, and multiply our impact across the state? We're not looking at that simply from your missions budget, but we want you to consider, can you take that out of your training budget as well to help meet some of those goals? For the average church, it'd be about $6,000 a year. But for $6,000 a year, it's like having a full-time trainer on your staff. They're just not at all the staff meetings. They're just not at every service. But we want you to consider us as part of your training of yourselves and other leaders within your church. And that would then, by churches doing that, gives us stability that we need, that we know how to plan for the future, and that we can do and have the resources to do these very important things that we're talking about. Another ask is to consider being part of the 92 offering. We want to reach all 92 counties in our state, and that's going to take funding. It's not going to happen on its own. And we think we're uniquely equipped to do that because no one's going to reach Hoosiers like Hoosiers. There's no outside ship coming in to reach the counties for Christ. That's our job. Acts chapter 1, verse 8 says that we're supposed to be interested in our Jerusalem, our city, our county, but we're also supposed to be interested in reaching our Judea. And that is the state of Indiana, I think, in our context. And as we do those two things well, we can reach the world. We don't want you to quit doing foreign missions. We just want you to consider what are we doing to reach our Judea, our state of Indiana. And then lastly, there's the Samaritan, and we think that's the foreign language people. The world is coming to us. Let's do something to reach them as well. And so these are the things that we're asking you to consider. And we're not asking for an either or, we're really asking for a both and. Give to the general fund, give to the church planting project. 100% of the offering we want to go to church planting, not administrative costs, not personnel costs. We want to directly help fund that. And then also 100% of it will stay right here in Indiana so we can do a good job of reaching that. So here's the invitation. We're asking your church to join us in these 2 weeks. Commit to 1.5% giving and join the Reach the 92 offering. Imagine 10 years from now, and my goal is that we've planted 30 churches in the next 10 years. And that those are strategically placed in counties that are underserved with the gospel of Jesus Christ. And this will not just relive the past, but that'll put us on a new path of doing something for the kingdom, something that is worth being part of. Churches we've got records in the 30s during the Depression of all times. Churches were sending 40% of their giving was going to missions, which is the exact same time that we were planting all these churches here in Indiana. I think there's something related there, but I don't know. I'm just the old camp guy. Right? All right, that's my spiel. Got any questions?
John, talk a little bit more about the 92 counties. How is Crossroads represented currently in the state of Indiana as far as counties? And what kind of church planning prospects are you guys already talking about, already looking for?
Yeah, so we have 92 churches, but we only represent 30 counties right now. So we haven't even scratched the tip of the iceberg on our reach. There's a lot more we want to do. We want to truly be a statewide fellowship. We have one of our churches that we want to help is in Allen County up in Fort Wayne, and there's a huge population of people up there without a evangelical gospel-centered church that is doing a work for God, and that's one that's already in the process. We have another church that's looking in 2026 of starting a foreign language ministry within their church, and then 2027 another foreign language. So we've already got, just by talking about this and doing the planning, we've already got 3 churches excited about church planning efforts, and we think they're going to be 1 or 2 of them even in 2026. So that's pretty exciting. Our phrase is, let's saturate Indiana with the gospel. I think that might be on your flyer there. Wouldn't that be great that every county, every person has a chance to hear the good news of the gospel? And that's not happening right now, unfortunately.
I would think, I don't know what to ask you, but I would say, talking to these guys, you know, maybe in the 2 or 3 most significant spots, maybe just talking a little bit more about the last 3, 4, 5, 6 months, the processes that you've gone through, what your convictions are. So it's just context for these guys to hear where you're coming from and more about where you're going.
So one of the cool things that's happened is the Lilly Endowment here in Indiana has been working for years to help strengthen pastors and help churches with some of the things that they're doing. And this last year, we got contacted by our national association, the JRBC, that they had heard that there was a project here in Indiana where the Lilly Endowment was going to help Indiana state fellowships and denominations. And they gave us about $50,000 to do some strategic planning. And so we have contracted with Malfers Training, Every Ethne with ABWE, Small Church USA with Terry Thompson, who also has connections to this church. And we started doing planning and doing some church ministry analysis. We had about a third of our churches went through an analysis of what their strengths and weaknesses were for each church. So we had 6 pillars that we looked at. And so we have a pretty good assessment of where our church is at in a general sense. And then we have for about 30 churches very specific information about what they're doing well in areas that they need help in. And that's partially how we put this together. Phase 2 of the Lilly Endowment was that they wanted to help kickstart what we're doing. And we actually have $600,000 that we think we're going to get in December to help kickstart the process. So there is a ramp up period to this. You may say, hey, we're excited about 1.5%. Everybody shake your head, yes, we're excited about 1.5%. What we're giving, what this allows us to do is have some margin of time to bring those numbers up. So you could say, hey, we'll do 0.5% this year, we'll do 1% next year, the year after we'll do 1.5% and get up to that point. So there is some room that we can move on some of these projects and be ready to go. The sooner we raise that money, the sooner we get the money up, even more that we can do. And there is a sense of urgency. Things aren't getting better. Christ is delaying his return, but we don't know when. But I do believe there's a soon return of Christ, and that that we need to tell as many people about the gospel of Jesus Christ as we can. And if he delays it for 10 or 20 years, let's have healthy churches here in Indiana reaching users for Christ.
Any other questions?
So there's 92 churches in the fellowship right now. Where are they concentrated?
We have our main concentration is north of Indianapolis and north. As we get to Johnson County south, that's where the most churches are vacant. But even like the county east of us here and southeast of here, we don't have a church even in these counties right by us. So.
In Hancock and
Shelby.
I think Hancock we do.
Henry then probably.
Henry we don't. I haven't memorized the list. But I do have a big wooden stake on my wall of my office now with stickers where we have people and stickers where we need people. We want to be very strategic about this. And we think the key for the whole thing is reach the county seat. I don't know how many of you have lived in rural USA here in the Indiana, but everyone drives to the county seat, and so that's what we're concentrating on. Wouldn't it be great to have a healthy, reproducing church in every county of our state? That is a cool goal. That's a God-sized goal that I would love to see us accomplish in the next 20 years.
John, when you look at your thing that you're striking the churches, these 92 churches that are involved, how many of those do you feel like are struggling or?
So according to our survey, it came out in about a third. So there's a third that are unhealthy and struggling. There are about a third that are marginal, just a few tweaks, and they would be healthy. And about a third are falling in the healthy category. So what we again want to do is look at what churches are doing things well and leverage those churches, because I can't do, neither do I want to do, all this training and helping. But what is your church doing well that you can share that information with others? And it happens two ways: through the connects with pastors engaging with other pastors, because part of the connect is what's going on in your ministry, what's working, and how can you help me, and how can I help you? That's part of the connect strategy. The others is these leadership summits where we actually come in and help do training, either by sending people to a central spot or bringing in a package to the local church.
I can tell you, I'm very excited about the direction. I don't know if you want to call it a change in direction, but one of the reasons we've been discouraged about the local fellowship for a number of years is because there just hasn't been any kind of connection, especially local.